Okay, let's dive right into this explainer by looking at a trap that honestly almost all of us fall into at some point. I'm talking about the trap of modern life. It so often feels like this frantic, exhausting pursuit of success, wealth, and external validation, right? We're constantly running, always trying to get a step ahead of the next person, trying to carve out this unique identity. But you know what happens? In doing all of that running, we often completely lose sight of ourselves.
Now ask yourself, do you feel trapped in this endless loop of striving? We spend our days literally trying to outpace everyone else, and when someone asks us about our lives, we constantly boast about what we've achieved. The promotions, the possessions, our status. But for so many people, they realize way too late that they've wasted their absolute most precious commodity, their time, on a race that literally has no finish line. Even at the end of your life, if you're stuck on this track, you're going to find yourself standing right where you started, just exhausted.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict we're all facing. On one side, you have the illusion of the external race, this endless, chaotic path where we're always seeking superiority over others. On the flip side, there's internal peace. That's a state of inner calm, of simply observing your thoughts in complete silence. The profound truth we're going to unpack today is that true peace, the kind that actually satisfies us deep down, well, it only comes from within. It just can't be chased down on some external track.
So, Part 1, the endless and futile race. Moving into Part 2, the guru and the stubborn disciple.
To really understand how to hit the brakes and stop this endless running, let's look at this beautiful, ancient Buddhist parable. Long ago, high up on a remote mountain, lived this eccentric, aging guru. He was famous for absolutely refusing to take on any disciples. In fact, people assumed he had gone totally crazy. But, despite all the warnings from the villagers down below, a stubborn young man showed up one day, bags packed. He stood right before the old master and just begged to learn. He was incredibly persistent, telling the guru he didn't care at all what the villagers said, he only wanted his knowledge. Seeing this young man's unyielding determination, the aging master did something really surprising. He agreed, taking him in as his very first and only disciple.
Which brings us to Part 3, thirst and the illusion of the mind.
The very next morning, the young disciple was completely parched from searching for water all night on this dry mountain. So he rushed over to a well, hurriedly drew up a bucket, brought it right to his lips, and drank deeply. But in his rush, he completely forgot to offer a single drop to his equally thirsty guru who was standing right next to him. After he frantically apologized, the guru calmly asked him to draw another bucket of water. As the disciple held that fresh water in his hands, the guru pointed out a really profound truth. He asked this confusing question, pointing out that the water in his hands was physically identical to the water he had just desperately swallowed. Same color, same temp, same taste. Yet the disciple's mindset had radically shifted. He just wasn't desperate for it anymore.
So the absolutely crucial point the guru was making here is that intense desires, like that extreme thirst, act as a powerful illusion. When we want something that badly, whether it's water, money, or a massive promotion, it just consumes all our physical energy and completely blinds us to our immediate surroundings. It altered the disciple's reality so much that he forgot the basic needs of his master. The disciple was absolutely thrilled by this profound insight, so he eagerly pulled out his notebook and wrote it all down, determined to memorize every single word.
Part 4, life and inevitable death.
Now the narrative gets quite a bit deeper the very next day. The guru woke the disciple and took him back to that exact same well. But this time, when the disciple drew the water, the guru forced him to smell it. The disciple recoiled. The water now stank of decay. Looking down into the well, they realized a small animal had fallen in and died overnight, totally ruining the water supply. Using this grim, unexpected discovery, the guru mapped out the inescapable reality of mortality for his young student. He explained that death isn't just some sudden event waiting at the end of the road. It's an ongoing process, and it begins the exact moment life starts. Think about it. At birth, life is complete, but every single day we age, life decreases, moving us closer to that inevitable zero point. We are all on this journey, whether the process is fast or painfully slow. Faced with this incredibly heavy realization, the young disciple was terrified. He actually thought the guru was threatening his life, but the guru explained the real lesson here. What's really interesting is their reaction. Instead of just walking away or panicking about their own mortality, they spent the rest of the day gathering heavy wood to build a wall around the well. This symbolizes our ultimate duty, recognizing our shared fate and actively working to protect others from falling into life's inevitable unseen traps.
Part 5. The greatest knowledge is silence.
As time went on, the disciple served his master well, constantly writing down every teaching he could. But the guru was growing visibly frailer. One afternoon, noticing the guru was in a particularly good mood, the anxious disciple finally gathered up the courage to ask for the ultimate teaching, the greatest knowledge, so he could write it down securely in his notebook before his master passed away. The disciple sat there, pen hovering over the paper, totally ready for some grand, complex philosophy. But in response to this profound question, the guru did something highly unexpected. He didn't speak a single word. He remained completely silent for a long time, then slowly stood up and just walked away.
The disciple was so confused, but he figured, okay, this must be a riddle. So he wrote down the phrase, "The greatest knowledge is silence." For an entire year, every time the disciple asked for the ultimate truth, the guru would just sit in silence and leave. And every single day, the frustrated disciple would write down that exact same phrase in his notebook. He was completely missing the actual experience of the lesson, just treating it like another fact to collect and hoard. It wasn't until a restless, sleepless night, a whole year later, that everything finally clicked. The disciple was agonizing over his notebook, just so frustrated that he wasn't becoming enlightened. He wandered outside under the moonlight, and finally, exhausted, he just stopped trying. And as he stopped his mental running, he began to actually hear the silent, beautiful sounds of nature around him. The rustling of the leaves, the cool wind blowing, the total stillness of the night. For the first time ever, this wave of profound inner peace washed right over him.
In that moonlit moment, he finally grasped the guru's ultimate truth. The guru wasn't just giving him a catchy phrase to memorize, he was pointing to an experience. Silence isn't just an absence of noise. It's the very thing that allows us to see the unseen. It's the absolute foundation of all wisdom. The next morning, he walked right up to his meditating master, surrendered his notebook at his feet, and simply sat down to experience that profound calm. The guru smiled, knowing his student had finally, truly understood.
Which leads us to our final part, the path of mindfulness in life.
Now, you might be wondering, how does an ancient story about a monk and a well apply directly to you breaking free from the exhausting modern rat race? Well, it all comes down to practice. A lot of us attempt to find peace through temporary retreats or maybe taking these superficial vows of silence. But as we see here, true silence isn't just about zipping your lips. If you aren't speaking outwardly, but your mind is still running 100 miles an hour with anxieties, to-do lists, and resentments, you aren't silent at all. True silence is about calming the chaos inside your mind. It's a calm awareness and a peaceful observation of the present moment.
By following these simple steps derived straight from the parable, you can begin to transform your life today. First, you've got to intentionally pause your daily running. Just stop. Second, observe your thoughts without judging them, exactly like the disciple finally observed the night sky. When you do this, you'll start to easily identify how many useless worries you're carrying around that are totally disconnected from the present moment. By letting those go, you cultivate real inner stillness, and that is how you finally step off that endless track. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, absolutely vital thought. Will you stop running long enough to finally listen to the silence, the peace, the success, and the validation you are endlessly chasing outside in the world? It's already waiting for you, quietly, right there within. You just have to be still enough to notice it. Thanks for joining me on this journey today. I highly encourage you to take at least 5 minutes today to just sit, put the notebook of life down, and really listen.